Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and today we are talking about something very special and something incredibly close to home, because today, Internet, we are talking High Elf customization options for the Alliance. As you know, with new expansion Shadowlands, World of Warcraft is massively increasing and expanding their range of visual options for players to use on their characters, some of which really are in the realms of, well, cool, blimey, Charlie, knock me down with a feather. I never thought we'd see this in this game, but here we are. Yeah, that's right. Options so longed for and yet so unexpected that they basically managed to turn me into a fake Mary Poppins Cockney through pure shock. Changes like extensive and well-realized racial options for humans, varying and adjustable bony options for Forsaken, and now something that makes even those groundbreaking additions seem tame in comparison. And look, I don't want to overexcite anyone here, okay, but cool, blimey, governor! It seems like we may also be getting our Alliance High Elves. Blizz put out a blue post this week paving the way for the upcoming additions to Blood Elves and Void Elves, additions that will likely take weeks or even months to find their way onto the alpha in their entirety, but which Blizzard quite wisely thought that it might be a good idea to warn us about in advance. The first being several shades of blue eyes to choose from for both the Void Elves and Blood Elves, and additionally Blood Elves will have the option to choose from a variety of new skin colors, and Void Elves will inherit the skin color options available to Blood Elves, which means a couple of things. Firstly, of course, that we now have the situation that every Alliance High Elf stan was dreading: blue eyes on Blood Elves, which would make the prospect of proper High Elf options for the Alliance side appear dead in the water. But two, forget that thing that I just said about Alliance High Elves being dead in the water, because actually you can now make the pale-skinned, blue-eyed High Elf you always dreamed of under the blue banner, and High Elves are here, they happened. Core blimey, shine your shoes, pucker up Ginny, there's chimneys to sweep. Sorry, I don't know why that keeps happening. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, alright Taliesin, that's all very exciting and everything, and thanks for telling me, but I can't help noticing that you've now finished telling me that news, and it took like a minute, so it kind of begs the question, why did you feel the need to make a whole video about this, when surely you could have just covered it in the weekly reset with everything else? And honestly, you've got a pretty good point there, and actually, that's exactly what I was going to do. But here's the thing, when it comes to playable Alliance High Elves, this channel has, and excuse the pun, skin in the game. It's a subject that we feel quite a special connection to. One of my favourite videos that we ever made was over 2 years ago in the run-up to BFA, and it was called High Elves and Battle for Azeroth, the allied race Blizzard are determined not to give you, in which I go pretty in-depth into the issue of Alliance High Elves, background, what people mean when they say they want them, and a lot of the confusion surrounding them. Confusion and misunderstandings that I can already see happening all over again throughout the community right now as they discuss these new customization options. So apart from the fact that I want to make this video for completion's sake, as kind of a fitting epilogue to that 2018 piece, I also wanted to clear up a few things. So join us as we explain the new options, why just like that, and despite what some are saying, Alliance really do have their legit and real High Elves, with one massive condition that Blizzard really need to address, and how, if they do, finally, after all this time, the Alliance High Elf community, and I actually can't believe I'm about to say this, has been granted their wish. Okay? Go, 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 go. Now, I'm not going to dwell on this bit too much because it's a complicated question, and one that really is at the very heart of the confusion that we've seen over the last 15 years. Also because we go into plenty of detail answering it in our 2018 video, which I think you should go and watch. But the very basic gist of it is this. The Highborn got thrown out of Kalimdor by the Night Elves for dicking around with arcane magic after it was banned in the aftermath of the War of the Ancients and the resulting sundering of the Well of Eternity. They travelled to the Eastern Kingdoms, where their lack of access to the Well made them change physically, getting smaller and losing their skin's violet hue, settling in Silvermoon and becoming the High Elves. Then Arthas came along in the Third War, decimated their population with his Scourgy buddies, and the vast majority of those elves that survived renamed themselves the Blood Elves and joined the Horde because they were just like so edgy and angry about what happened. But importantly, not all of the High Elves became Blood Elves, with plenty remaining as members of the Alliance in Stormwind, Dalaran, and most notably Varisa and her Silver Covenant forces, who exist in numbers equal to the Blood Elf troops in Northrend, a not inconsiderable fighting force. And it's these High Elves, the ones who never became Blood Elves, that the Alliance High Elf stands are specifically asking to be able to play as. Which is why the common, "but Blood Elves are High Elves" response isn't quite accurate in the context of what is actually being asked for. I always think that the clearest example of this difference is given in Legion, where the Blood Elves, Night Elves, and Alliance High Elves gather as 3 separate forces to confront Elisand, and she addresses them in turn as 3 different forces. It doesn't matter if these Blood Elves are 100% genetically identical to these High Elves. They are different, and they are represented as such. If one of these Blood Elves suddenly had blue eyes, they wouldn't be made to go and stand on the Alliance side. They'd still obviously be a member of the Blood Elves. And likewise, if one of these High Elves suddenly ate some Fel crystals and got green eyes, they wouldn't be kicked out of this team and made to stand with the Blood Elves. The difference isn't about genetics, but history and allegiance. A difference that most players have no problem recognizing as a differentiating factor between other races, but for some reason can't quite get their head around it when it comes to elves. Which is why I think it's great that Blood Elves are indeed getting their blue eyes. Why not? Awesome. But it doesn't make them suddenly High Elves in the context that we're talking about it. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, Tally, so a blue-eyed Blood Elf is still a Blood Elf, sure, but then surely a blue-eyed Void Elf is still a Void Elf, right? By your own logic, they are not Alliance High Elves. You're a total dick, and lol, you've wasted your time making this video. And on the face of it, that's a decent point. So allow me to explain why you are totally wrong and I am totally right as we look at the Void Elves. And to even further ruin my argument here, Void Elves aren't even originally High Elves at all, but Blood Elves. Umbric was a Silver Moon dwelling Blood Elf when he started studying the Void, as were all of his followers. They were specifically thrown out of the Horde because of their Void obsession, and basically they are like even further removed from Alliance High Elves than Blood Elves are. So yeah, it may certainly be welcome that we can have High Elf skin colours and blue eyes like a High Elf, but you know, they are still Blood Elves, really, aren't they? Not the Alliance High Elves that you just explained so very eloquently and well in that last section, Taliesin. And I have 2 answers to this. Firstly, I don't think it would actually matter if they were really Blood Elves, as long as you had the option to create characters that looked exactly like High Elves on the Alliance side. That's the really important thing here. But actually, as it also happens, not all of the Void Elves are Blood Elves anyway. That's only true of the original Void Elves, who are minuscule in number. Ian even described them as a crack elite squad, which is why they always felt so weird as an Alliance race, because they're not really a race, are they? They're kind of a bit more like a class. But that's not the important bit. The important bit is that since Alleria, an undisputed Alliance High Elf, albeit one that spent 1,000 years in a timey-wimey space war on a different plane of existence, got up close and personal with the Void herself in Legion, and since she sought out the isolated Void Elves to bring them into the Alliance, others have joined their ranks, looking to get in on some of that purple tentacly action, and frankly, who can blame them? We can see this in action in the Void Elf starting area, the Telogris Rift, where yes, there's all Umbric's posse of beautiful negative boys and girls, but there's also some newer arrivals who weren't part of the original exiles, but rocked up after they joined the Alliance officially. And these new arrivals consist of Silver Moon Scholars, so Blood Elves again, but also High Elf Wayfarers. These are genuine, legit Alliance High Elves. Sometimes, if you stick around long enough, you can actually see them arriving directly from Stormwind to join up. These guys literally are the Alliance High Elves that the player base has always asked for, and it makes sense that these are the ones you are playing as when you create your High Elf looking Void Elf in Shadowlands. So visually and canonically, this is a straight up Alliance High Elf. Okay, so every so often they turn purple, but hey, if it's good enough for Alleria Windrunner, then it's good enough for me. Are you going to tell Alleria that she's not an Alliance High Elf just because she goes a bit purple sometimes? I'm not going to tell her that. And just because you're really into the Void now, it doesn't mean that your legit Alliance High Elf can't join the Silver Covenant or the Kirin Tor. Or heck, maybe you want to roleplay as one of Varisa's terrifying children, and now you can. Go wild. And there's actually an argument that says, ironically, because of the mixture of recruits in Void Elves, Alliance now has access to canon High Elves and Blood Elves, while the Horde can still only be Blood Elves. Kind of the opposite situation deviation from what a lot of people were worried about. And I know that there are going to be people who disagree with me on this, who will argue that it won't really be playable High Elves until our blue-eyed boys make their own distinct allied race, when they can choose to play as paladins like Aleria's half-human son Arator. And man, there's a video for another day if ever there was one. And even though I understand this point of view, and I agree that it would have been a more complete and satisfying way of being given High Elves, in my opinion it is also beyond debate that these guys, they are Alliance High Elves, and I think the vast majority of High Elf stans will be overjoyed with the options and possibilities that this opens up for them. You won, guys! You finally did it! Alliance High Elves are a thing, and I could not be happier for you. Well, actually, there is just one last thing. I think maybe I could be happier for you, and there's still one major black cloud hanging over this party. Okay, so we've got the skin tones, not just pale and peachy, but all the new Blood Elf options too, including darker choices. Awesome! We've got the eyes, which I think we'll all agree were the really important and difficult bit. But there's still something not quite right about these High Elves: the hair. Because, you know, maybe Blizz will have sorted this by the time you watch this video, but at the time of writing, there has been no mention of Void Elves inheriting Blood Elf hairstyles, or, most importantly, hair colors. All of the skin and eye examples they show in their blue post have standard Void Elf hair, which means various shades of blue, black, and grey. Basically, all Void Elves look like they're dressed up for a night down the zone on a Thursday night with the rest of the teenage edgelords circa 1998, and I am totally down with that. Obviously, it's where I lost my virginity after all, but it's not very helpful in terms of realising our long-awaited High Elf dreams. And to be perfectly frank here, if Blizzard don't enable Blood Elf haircuts, and more importantly, colours on Void Elves, then it's not an exaggeration to say that this entire exercise is ruined, and it's kind of worse than if they'd done nothing in many ways. Oh, but Taliesin, they are Void Elves. Of course they have void-coloured hair. It wouldn't make sense for them to have blonde hair, would it? Well, dick off, smart-ass, because in that case it doesn't make sense for them to have anything other than the 3 shades of various nighttimey skins that they're limited to in BFA, does it? If they can have all the Blood Elf skin tones and blue eyes, then there's just no reason not to have blonde or red or brown hair too. And in fact, I'm certain that Blizzard do plan to add these hair colours, and if they have by the time you watch this, then awesome, forget I said anything. I never doubted you, Blizz, nuh-uh. If not though, then Blizz, listen to me, okay? Are you listening? You are so close. You're so close to giving the player base exactly what they want, without any stupid snags or conditions. Don't fall at the last hurdle now, Blizz. Give Alliance players those big juicy High Elf hair colours and sit back and enjoy the adoration for years to come. Don't dick it up by getting so near, yet so far to the fabled, promised Alliance High Elf. Just give us the damn High Elf hair, Blizz, for Oh yeah, just one last thing though. Now that we've sorted the High Elf issue, I've got a little question from the Horde side, because it seems like a pretty natural continuation of these customization options. How about those red-eyed Dark Rangers, eh, Blizz? Oh, thanks for that, guys. I just thought I really wanted to get this out as a fitting sequel, and hopefully ending to our big video on the subject a couple of years ago. I hope Blizz do the right thing and allow players to finally have the High Elves they always wanted. And I think they will. They seem very eager to please with all these new customization options, and it would just seem really weird if they didn't, frankly. But what's your take on all this? If you are a High Elf stan, are you happy with these options, or do you still want more? Are you a Horde player who will be utilizing your new blue-eyed options on Blood Elves? Let us know in the comments below. And thanks for joining us today. If you like this video, don't thank us. Thank our patrons who give their actual real-life money to make all of our work happen. I know I always say this, but thank you so much. Without you, there'd be a whole lot less Taliesin Evitel. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. And remember, my name is Aleria Windrunner. No, my name is Taliesin from me, and Evitel, and Anirin too. Cheerio.